fuck up. It's time to talk business. Jared Taylor, Matt Best, and Evan Hafer proudly present Blackhearted. Sponsored by BlackRifle Coffee Company and Arson Wave.
Hey, still in Vegas with this one.
We're
going to do a lot from Vegas because this is that one time a year where we have a lot of really cool and important people in one spot. So we got to get them all on here so we can get that expertise and that knowledge out there to you guys that want to start a business someday, or you guys that already have started a business and are just looking for advice along the way. So today we have two very special guests. We have Scott Lambin and Sean. What's Sean?
Utley.
Utley.
Yep.
And Scott, you're a writer.
Yep.
And Sean, you're a photographer.
Yeah, photographer, writer.
And writer?
Contributor, yeah.
All right. And today we are going to talk about the important use of publicity and media in your business and how to make those connections and when it's appropriate to make those connections. You know, you do have to, like anything, you have to provide value. So
Absolutely.
coming to you guys and just saying, oh, I'd love for you to do a story on my gun. Well, you need something there. It's not just I'm going to go write about this gun for no reason.
Right, and like you said, it goes, comes down to value. How can the media, firearms media specifically, create value within our pro Second Amendment lifestyle, essentially?
Yeah. You got to start at the heart and soul of what's going on and what you want to accomplish. Like where you sit with firearms, what particular products, what particular companies, you got to look at that and not necessarily forget your roots. I think that's a good place to start, your gun roots.
I think, and I'll kick this off with a way that I used this in the very beginning when Matt and I started off. The goal was between us is we needed Matt to look important and popular and cool and people, we wanted people to relate to him. So we knew that the rap battles received traffic. Right. So what I did is I'd put a call into Recoil Magazine, and I said, hey, I'll let you guys cover the behind the scenes of the rap battle. We'll give you the exclusive rights to all that footage so you can launch it the same day that we launch the rap battle. And in return, I want to do a 4-page print article on Matt because I want people to open that magazine and go, oh, this stuff is up and coming.
Right.
And that was the goal. And they went for that immediately because they wanted the traffic. They wanted the attention that day that we could back then predict at least 500,000 to 1 million views in the first 48 hours on the rap battle. So we said, hey, you're providing the coverage of the behind the scenes of what it took for us to make this. Our fans are going to go directly to you after this because you're offering them more. So it was value on both ends.
Right.
Now, how do you guys see that now? Or other examples of that in business owners when they are looking to get media and coverage for certain things that they do?
Well, what you're able to do on the back end it's actually quite new because you've got the original story and then you've got this backstory. I think now with everything going digital, a lot of video along with what's going on in print, that hasn't been available till now. So you guys have done a great job of capitalizing it. We've wanted to do that for a while, but finding the outlets, unless you have or own the outlets, that's a little bit more difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it too is really getting down to like what Sean said earlier about use the analogy of peeling that onion back. Get down to what readers want, yet what is pertinent information that these manufacturers want to get out to their target audience, to their target markets.
So what is something, because obviously people know how to get a hold of you guys on Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. What is an effective way to get your attention? Because just like us, there's certain messages and certain things that you just kind of shred off. But what is a way to actually get your attention and to look into something and want to report on it?
When it comes to manufacturers and products, I always go back to all the guns that I thought were the one, and I think everybody said that. I just need this next one, this one, and all the, let's say, fails. So It's the product that stands out, and I think it's still the solution to the problem I may have had, whether it was a year ago, 2 years ago, or 2 weeks ago. So that's the stuff. It's like I'm still going back to my roots and going, man, I always wanted something that did this or shot this way or felt like this. That's the stuff that grabs my attention now. I'm not necessarily always looking for the newest and greatest thing. I'm trying to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm. Right, and with me, it's coming from the tactical community, it's how can I use a weapon system that was maybe designed for defensive carry or defensive use, and equate that into taking that particular, well, you'd say a pistol, for example, and taking it out to the range and running it like it would be a typical range pistol. So and writing it from that perspective to again reach more people like us or just the enthusiast. I think that is that's an important way to reach those different people.
When a manufacturer is contacting you or a small business owner, like preparedness obviously is going to be key. If they have prepared a nice note, not just, hey, it would be great if you wrote about my high point.
Right.
Those are the ones you shred up.
Well, well, no matter who it is, the question I always ask is, what is the message that you're trying to convey? Because I need to know that so that I'm going to inject my opinion into it, right? Does it fall in line with what they want? That could be good or bad, but more importantly, does it fall in line with the people that are viewing this product, like what they want from it? Is my opinion just so far off the freaking charts that I can't even relate to the people that are buying it? So I try to start there, like, what is the message? What are people supposed to get from it, and then go from there.
And this kind of leads us into a good point too, Sean. Saying that is, we had an article in Forbes last summer, and that sparked just by following authors. Like you read a certain piece that comes across your desk, you like the way that they write, you like their viewpoint. Well, I started digging into, okay, what kind of stuff does this guy report on? What kind of stuff is this guy interested in? And then I sent him a data packet, and he came back and was like, "This is fascinating. I want to go with it." And this is something I want to portray to business owners out there, like. Know your writers.
Do your research.
Yes. Know your writers that are in the community.
Yeah.
Because just that blanket shotgun blast out to just the general inbox or the Facebook page of some of these publications is going to fall on deaf ears, as opposed to if whatever it is that you're trying to do or what you have is unique and cool, match it to the guy that is going to think that as well.
Exactly. I was a big NFA, still am, but where I started was NFA weapons, like short barrel rifles, suppressors. Still do the suppressor thing a lot, but the shorter the better. Then I shot a particular weapon system that changed all that.
You can say it.
So
you can say it. Yeah.
So I shot the Nemo Omen, 2012. Literally, this sounds stupid, but it changed my shooting life.
I need a Nemo.
So I went from that. Yes, we all do. So I went from short barrel rifles to, okay, I want to shoot at 1,000 yards, and I'm using H-59 reticles and things that I was like, that's never going to happen. Suddenly, that was where my focus went. Yeah, it was a reality. A good product can do that for you, but you got to be open-minded as a writer or whatever it is that you do to be able to, kind of change your viewpoint on stuff.
And going back to that shooting life, I'm not a school trained DDM sniper or anything. I'm more of I've always been the up close type of shooter. Recently did a media event with Loophole, and their Mark 6 it took the thinking out of long range shooting. We were pinging steel up to 1,164 yards with sitting on top of the Air 3 grunt. So wow. I mean, something that I kind of had a mental block about and wasn't comfortable writing about with the long range and long range scopes that took the thinking out of it, and that's all I run.
Well, I think it's interesting, as I take a look at the information being put out in the firearms industry, a lot of it just turns into white noise. So it looks the same, it sounds the same, it is the same. There's nothing new, there's nothing innovative. So when you're solving a problem, you can differentiate yourself from the rest of the military or firearms market. When I say firearms, specific to hunting or specific to the type of hunting. So, the smaller the section of the grain of sand that you're trying to get to, specifically, let's say, you've got a new holster widget for the tactical industry, but it's related to firearms, right? So, if you're solving a problem, that can differentiate yourself. But then the information, it's just, I guess the writing or the publication piece is just one section of what you should look at as your information or your multimedia campaign, right?
Right.
So, Harris Publications, I think, is something we should all address in the sense of like, what did we see it coming? What do we think of the information that is disseminated via magazines or the more traditional routes of media? Are they effective? Are they? What do you guys think?
So the Harris thing is interesting. I started out. My primary job is a photographer, right? That's how I got started in the industry. My first job was with Harris,
right?
And I continued to work with them until the day that they ceased to be. So I was a little bit surprised by that whole thing. Where things went south, I don't know. They seem to do a good job with a lot of things, but personally, when I worked for them, I put my heart and soul into what I did. I look at myself, I'm a gun guy. Mm-hmm. That's the perspective I come from. So when I prepare a piece, because I am a photographer, I put the whole thing together. So I put the words and the photos. And when I take the photos, I'm taking them a specific way from my viewpoint on this firearm and how it might be portrayed by the average guy, how he might look at it. So, it's kind of unique approach for me because I can do both sides.
I definitely wasn't surprised having personal interaction with them. Is they were against change.
It can be tough. That can be tough. Yeah.
And they were too stuck in what a magazine was 20 years ago, as opposed to, because I heard their opinions on Recoil. Oh, that's just flashy and blah blah blah. Well, guess what? It sells.
Right.
So they're doing something right.
Right.
And they even more so, I think when you bog down a publication with corporate bureaucracy, the publication's going to suffer, because that's the wrong place to be instituting. Like, a publication is just like a social media network. Like, you have to be up to speed right now.
Yeah, and in tune with the people that are reading, looking at it. So,
and if
not
you're imposing
changing
rules
is tough.
and laws and stuff just for the sake of imposing weird branding guidelines for no reason other than to create busy work, you're not keeping up with the constant change of what is attention grabbing and what people are actually going to sit down and read.
It's always an effect of who's in charge, right? And whoever's in charge and whomever they know and who they cater to can sometimes drive that. We're not privy to that a lot of time on this side, because we're out busting our humps going, well, I want to bring something to that guy because I was in his shoes when I wanted a carry gun, or I wanted this holster, or I wanted this rifle. So I want to cater to that person. Well, just because we want to as contributors, we don't always get to do that. So sometimes that's tough for us. And I know it's tough for me personally.
It's tougher than a lot of people think. It's you bring an idea and it gets squashed because it doesn't fit the mass versus a target, like Sean said, a target group of people or type of shooter.
Yeah.
I'm a gun dude. That's what I think.
We're equal opportunists.
Everything I do is like, I'm a gun dude.
Right.
So that's what I want to cater to, but we don't get to make that call all the time.
It's funny because like I'm a gun guy. I've been a gun guy for my entire adult life. So, but not being directly immersed into the industry, like I don't know the internal politics. I don't know the information, but I would pick up magazine after magazine after magazine, and it was like the same story on repeat to the point where I'm like, why do I even buy these fucking things?
Almost to the point of credibility, like, like, what are you going to read next? The same thing.
Honestly,
cover.
I hadn't picked up a magazine since probably, realistically, since like 2008, because I was like, fuck, why? It's the same story. It's a gun review. Ultimately, you probably have a relationship with a manufacturer to some degree, and you're probably being paid for. You'll have the Kimber or whomever, you'll have that 1-page ad right next to the fucking story, and and it's like it's so transparent where you're like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. I really don't want a story that is crafted around an advertisement. I don't want that.
Right.
What I want is I want Scott to take those 3 1911s out to the range. I want you to run those fucking guns until you break something, and then I want you to tell me what happened. And really, or whatever that is, right? But when you're looking for a differentiating fact that's like, I'm going to go down and I'm not, I've never made a significant amount of money. So when I spend $800 on a 1911 or $1,000 or $1,200, that's a huge investment for me.
Yeah.
So when that Kimber, or I shouldn't say that, or the Wilson or whatever it is, whomever, when I take that pistol out of the box and it breaks on round number 3, and
That's tough.
it's tough because honestly, I want to pick up the phone, call the magazine, and go, "You guys are full of shit."
Right.
It's not only the manufacturer's fault; it's the advertiser, for lack of a better term. It's your fault too, because all you're doing is you're just advertising, and or the guys writing the stories, they're not gun guys. They're writers.
Right.
So it's like, if I sit down and I talk to you guys, and you can sniff out a guy that's not a gun guy in a fucking heartbeat, man.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my favorite 1911 is a Taurus or something. I don't know exactly what we can like equate this to, other than like, okay, no gun guy on the fucking face of the planet has ever said, I love High Point.
Right.
No offense to anybody, but no. And so we were having that conversation with Stan Chen, right?
Yeah, Stan Chen Customs.
Yeah, so
Incredible
I
guy.
showed these guys all his his stuff this morning. And I was like, dude, this guy has a 5-year waiting list.
Yep.
Why haven't I heard of this dude?
Right.
Like, why haven't I heard the story of his 1911, his craftsmanship, his precision? I haven't. But I'll tell you what, I've heard when SIG released their 1911. Like, when was that? Or their body? When was that? Like 2007, 2008, or whenever?
I don't know when that one was.
I don't know exactly.
But they released a
Somewhere around there,
1911 version, right?
Yep.
Oh my God, you couldn't swing a dead cat in the atmosphere without hitting an ad for SIG's 1911.
Right.
So, like, I don't care about that. And honestly, I think I told you the story about the front sight flipping off the top of it, and like,
Right.
it's just like a horrible experience. I love SIG. But man, I'll tell you, I didn't know anything about Stan Chen.
So I remember before I got in this, when I would buy magazines back in the day, I was looking for validation for what I had already purchased, right? So I was interested in whatever gun, and I wouldn't subscribe to anything, but I'd go to Barnes and Noble back when that stuff was open almost
Right.
across the nation. And I was looking for that gun that I wanted or that I just bought to make sure it was on the cover. Mm-hmm. And if I saw it on 2 or 3, I felt good about my purchase, right? And then I would buy those magazines specific to that gun. That was a different approach then. Right. Now it's how do we not necessarily trying to validate, but really say, this is what this thing is capable of. If this is what you want to do, this product can probably fill that. Mm-hmm. It can be tough at times. It can be tough. Yeah.
I mean, using the 1911 is a great example because it's like, do we really need another manufacturer? I don't know. Well, we do need a couple more Stan Chens because a 5-year waiting list is ridiculous.
Right.
Let's talk about the difference now in publications going more digital heavy. I mean, that is giving us the option to where more stories are approved, as opposed to because digital content, you're not publishing paper.
Right.
So how has that changed for you guys in the last few years?
It's been, I'd be interested to hear what Scott said. It's been difficult. Again, visually, this is what I do. I'm a photographer, and I do the words, and everything's going digital, so there's a lot more video involved, so we're trying to make that transition. But depending on who you're working with and for, that transition can be a little slow. It's been tough because there's some pretty big names out there right now on YouTube and other channels, and they're getting a lot of attention. They're getting a lot of viewership. And they are getting invited to the parties now, to where you didn't see that before. And it's hard. It's hard
now
to compete
Instagram
with that.
and YouTube is a relevant
Personality. Exactly.
So for me,
you're even seeing that. I've seen the change from SHOT Show 4 years ago, there is no way the NSSF would give somebody a pass with their Instagram on the
Right.
as the reason for being there.
Yeah.
And now you do see that.
Right.
It's relevant, right? So like for me, being on the media side, what going on 5 years of the being in this side of the industry, going digital seems making that transition from a print publication to to what we're doing now on the digital side. It was tough taking that initial leap. Like, now you're out there, you're putting it into the wild, and then it's up to you at that point. To whereas I think before, it was a fire and forget thing. So you get an assignment, or you write something up to submit for an assignment, and the powers that be, they approved it, and it goes through an editing process. To where now, you're it. You write, you publish, you edit yourself,
you publish,
and then you publish. So it's kind of it's easy and hard. The transition was hard because of that safety net. Evan, you can relate to the contractor versus hanging up the spurs. Kind of
Right.
There's always that safety net. Kind of that purgatory of do I want to hang them up, or do I want to kind of just transition and do my own thing slowly. So for me, I said I had to say fuck it and do it. Rip that Band-Aid off and start going strictly digital. And
Right.
so now I use the word liberating, I guess, for lack of better terms, just because I can do what I want. I can
Right.
publish what I want. I can say what I want without any fear of repercussion, I guess, for lack of better terms.
So I don't watch any of the reviewers or anything, just because I don't want it to taint what I want to do or think, and I don't want to be accused of copying off someone else. But here's where I realized when the digital thing is when it hit me right in the face is a few months ago. 3 of us were invited over to the Czech Republic for the new P10 launch. One of them was Tim Harmison, Military Arms Channel, buddy of mine, cool guy. So he and Jeremy Stafford, we went on behalf of Guns and Ammo. So it was a digital, all digital, and a print.
Wow.
That was it. 3 of us showed up. So that's when it hit me. I'm like, whoa, this guy's doing something right.
Right.
Because it's us and him, and that was it. That's when it really hit home for me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What has it been like turning that into a business? Like, so you guys are freelancers that are contracted.
Yep.
So yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, it's an interesting process. It's we're trying to do it right, trying to do it slow, obviously trying to be careful, because let's be honest, there are people that you don't want to offend, you don't want to do things the wrong way, and you don't want. I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've been given, because I'm successful in this industry because I was given a chance. Started at Harris,
Right.
went over to the G&A side. Everybody's been good, and there's other things that you still want to do. So you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to do anything wrong. But as a freelancer, you kind of have the leeway to do other things. So you just want to take advantage of those.
For me, it was a plateau. So like I felt that, I think going and branching off and turning it into my own business could have been, it would have been a good plateau breaker. So, that was the driving motivator behind going and doing my own thing, turning it into my own business.
Yeah.
Right.
And mine's been about branding myself since I started out in photography. That's where I really built everything up. Then when I started writing, it was just because there were things that I thought were cool, and I didn't have to I didn't have to review everybody's product. Then it just started building from there. And then just talking with manufacturers about a whole bunch of different ways, even if it comes down to, helping with marketing ideas, whatever you can do to kind of differentiate. That's the direction that I went.
I like it.
Well, I think it's been an interesting ride as far as like the writing publication side of things. There's 100 different questions we could actually ask you guys about this, which would be a long conversation just about, how do you contact publications in order to get your product into those publications. So I'd like to just like cut to the fat and some of that, which is like, you know, do you just pick up a magazine and go, man, I love Recoil, flip to the back and say, okay, that's who I call. And then how do you make a splash? Do you put together like a one-pager and then send it off to them, or what is it? I got the next coolest widget, man, or I've made a badass cup of coffee. How do I put it in the right hands?
So, as far as contacting these different manufacturers, these different businesses that we cover, I always approach them with, you know, first off, a proper introduction, and then how their product can fit into our publication.
Right.
I always give them a top down idea of what we want to do as far as coverage, and then essentially leave it up to them to say, yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
Run with it.
That question is something I take for granted, have taken for granted during this process. What someone does, I don't want to say it's who you know, but that's a good part of it, right? It's because I know there's a lot of people that have great products, and I approached them and they said, hey, we've got this and we want to do this. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty simple. Let me put you in touch with this person, you know, whether it's one of my editors, whether it's a fellow contributor at another
If
publication.
you're a business owner that is not networking with the publications within your demographic and your customer base, you're just foolish.
Yeah.
You need to.
right.
You need, I mean,
Yeah.
You need to know them.
Right, but it's hard because there's a lot of companies and a lot of they're like, we have this and we don't know what to do. And like I said, I took it for granted. I'm just like, oh, you just do this, but you got to have those contacts. You got to, and that's where that relationships. I know you mentioned earlier about having relationships with companies. Well, when you start with a company that has this widget and you use it and it works well, you write about it, you present it, and it goes well, you do develop a relationship with them. I mean, it's kind of hard not to. And you can do it right and you can do it professionally, but again, you know, there's certain products I'm really fond of because they really changed how I do what I do in the gun world.
Yeah, and I think that's the fundamental like spot that we all want to be in, which is if your product is changing the minds of people, it's revolutionizing things, that's the position you want to be in.
Right.
Because then everybody wants to write about it, everybody wants to wear it, everybody wants to use it.
Right.
You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem disseminating that. But if you've just done what everybody else has done, it's an uphill battle, and you better have deep pockets.
No, exactly. Yeah.
You better start getting creative with marketing.
Or you better have a personality like JT's.
Well, with that, we want to thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
If people want to check you guys out on Instagram, let's go throw those out there.
It's the Brass Tacks official. It's the _ Brass Tacks, BRASSTACS _ official, and then our
That's a
Facebook.
lot.
Yeah. Our Facebook is just at the Brass Tacks.
Yeah.
And yours?
Yeah, it's on the
Same
brass
thing.
tacks.
Don't you
And
have a
my
photo
personal
page? Yeah.
Sean _Utley.
Utley.
SeanUtley. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we thank you guys for coming out. This is JT and Evan in Las Vegas.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys. Appreciate it.
Black Rifle Coffee Company, along with Arson Wave, would like to thank you for tuning in to Blackhearted. Have a great